Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Pumar Gato, the cat that hands you your death certificate back. And to my right over here is the main man, Sister Nero, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadly ideas, run, spicier content to your girls' only fans.
What is going on, everybody? Please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit. And with that, I'm going to let my man take over. He's got a topic that kind of caught his eye and he wanted to discuss.
Alright, so this was a funny case of pretty jarring stuff that I saw on Twitter, courtesy of Shoe on Head. So, when I say the word maid, what do you usually tend to think of? Usually tend to think of housekeeper, cleaning about the house, maybe as a little bit of a foreplay, a little bit of a sexy cosplay or whatever. However, the maid that I'm talking about today, complete opposite of that. In fact, it's actually pretty jarring. So, Canada has a system called the M.A.I.D system. It is an acronym for medical assistance in dying or medical assistance in death. Basically what that program is that say somebody is basically declared a vegetable, they have no more bodily function or possibly suffering from some terminal disease of which you're not seeing any more progress on. Basically it is a program in which the doctors basically agree like, okay, we're not seeing any progress on this, they're not responding, they're not responsive at all. We're going to need some permission. That way that we can send them off peacefully into the next life. That in and of itself, not that extreme. However, as recent as 2021, there's been some extensive, what do you want to call it, additions into the bill that passed that into law. And just now they're starting to start being in talks about extending the M.A.I.D program. Extending it to what exactly? Well, it's extending it for in cases of poverty. So that means, my man, if you broke, guess what? Doctor might prescribe, hey man, it's time to call a rep, my man. It's time to call it good. Can't pay your hospital bill? Guess what, my man? I got an extra syringe for you right here. Might pass on to the next life. But hey man, that's like, if you can't pay your hospital bill, if you're overdraft on your bank account, hey man, it's wraps for you. I'm gonna let you. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, it's wild to me that the things that get put out into the world, man. You know, I've always heard that, you know, if you put an idea out to the world and you speak it into truth, you can make it a real thing. So the fact that somebody literally thought to themselves, this guy's too broke, let's see if he's willing to die, is a fucking insane thought to me. The fact that people are out here saying, hey, look, man, you too broke to be alive, like, it's fucked up, dude. Especially because, I you know, kind of related a little bit. So apparently the casinos in Vegas recently started saying, hey, man, we're going to start cutting off, like, the super low... the people that bet the smallest amount, basically like the small time gamblers, and we're gonna kind of edge that out. We're gonna start raising the stakes on everybody. So basically, you know, all the people in Vegas, if you're a little bit too broke, we're gonna pass you on to Canada, and Canada's gonna take you out. It's wild, man. It seems like as more and more time goes on, the more insane things get. Like, it's weird that we're getting into this almost like parallel universe where the things that used to be common decency are just gone. Too broke, gotta die. It's just, you know, for a lot of millennials, y'all know about this. As much as you're gonna try, can't get a house. You know, gotta suck it up, rent forever, and barely able to afford that. Like, it's weird. Like, all these concepts of all these people that the world is just turning into shit. It's so fucking weird, man. The fact that Canada of all places, a place where it's known to be friendly, it's known to be like, you know, a little too friendly sometimes. You know, they don't really stand up for themselves, so on and so forth. And these motherfuckers are out here saying, I think you're a little too broke to be alive, my guy.
I think it's ironic, especially coming from, so this is technically a healthcare policy. Health being the operative word here. I think it's ironic that Canada was basically making fun of America for its medical practices as far as like, okay, if you go into a hospital, it's like, already into debt, bam. Can't afford a heart surgery? Hey, you're going to have to be paying that for the rest of your life. I mean, you already got an extended life, but you're already kind of in debt at this point. And it's funny that Canada has been making fun of the United States for this long regarding their healthcare policies, considering that they have a pretty rich, extensive one. And they just recently put in, like, yeah, if you can't pay it off, all right, that's it for you, I guess. It brings to mind all of the stuff and you've personally seen it in Tempe. We've seen it pretty extreme in Phoenix. I think I've even seen it in places like Scottsdale, where even like in Mesa too. And Mesa's a pretty ghetto place in and of itself. I'm starting to see signs all over these places where it's like, it's a sign that basically says it's okay to say no to panhandlers, which I already kind of knew that, but coming from a city ordinance, that's basically like, all right, we're gonna start doing something about the homeless situation, and not in a good way, mind you. You start seeing all these articles about anti-homeless infrastructure, the fact that all the bus seats now have a slant dead in the middle of it, so it discourages homeless people from sleeping on them. You see all these places where even if it's places that have shade, they will put road bumps, like basically tiny little bumps, to prevent people from laying on it in the hot sun. I understand the homeless is a pretty divisive issue, because talking about it might bring about ideas that will be deemed socialist, and socialist ideas already kind of divisive as it is. I understand the homeless isn't exactly a pretty topic to talk about, but to do all of these things, it seems very anti-human. And it's a scary thought, because with all this talk about inflation, without all these talks about homes not being available to the younger generation, we can barely afford it. Wages have been stagnant since the 1970s. It's a scary thing to think about, because we're not too far off from becoming one of them. It might take a bad year. It might take a bad month. It might take a bad week. Hell, it might even be a hell of a fucking day. But we're not different from becoming one of them. And to have these policies put in place to what eventually may or may not become one of us is a scary thought to think about. And it's a scary thought to think about that we're not welcome even in the streets. We're not welcome anywhere else. And in Canada respects, we're not welcome in this life anymore. And that's the way that they see it. It's a scary thought to think about. But it's definitely one thing we need to think about as far as policies for the homeless. Again, it's a pretty ugly thing to think about. But it doesn't even seem like even in one of the nicest places in the world, even the homeless aren't welcome.
You know, it's funny because I know that, for example, in America, it's really frowned on to do basically like medically assisted death, basically, some sort of healthcare provider helping somebody into the next life. And here they're still talking about it in a very friendly term, like, oh, they're choosing to end their life because they might be in pain, they might be going through some health things, so on and so forth. So they're still kind of talking about it in a very pro-friendly way for the person that's considering this medical assisted death. But with that being said, man, the fact that people are out here considering, hey man, you too broke, you might want to die, it is wild, man. It's just, I don't know, dude, it just seems like more and more as time goes on, this world is just getting so much more fucked. And it's insane because we as a collective, right, we as a collective group are kind of ignoring these things, like ignoring the fact that, you're being told you're too broke to die, ignoring the fact that, the homeless are being basically told to fuck off, the fact that more and more people are getting pushed into homelessness. Like, it just, I don't know, man, it's a wild time, it's a lot of wild shit, and I'm not gonna lie, man, when you told me about the story, I thought that shit was wild as fuck. Anything else you want to add to that?
I think that's it for me, my man.
With that, please like, comment, hate, subscribe. Make sure you get your money up so you don't have to get M.A.I.D. And with that being said,
until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you on the next one.